Welcome back to the Dopest Show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer, and this is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the dumb stuff I did to get put in prison. I've also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that actually happened when I was in prison. And, God forbid, you end up in prison, you want to make some of the same mistakes I made. So I got a good story, but I'm wiped out. I stayed up hollering at Weavy till probably about Big Weavy, who I'm going on his live again. Jay Williams supposed to be on there tonight. He made an appearance last night. So, come check that out on his channel. Probably about 9:30. Jay Williams supposed to be stopping by. I mean, that's a good dude right there, man. He's like a white Morpheus from the Matrix. With the same gap and everything. Always got something wise to say. Feel like you're going to make a choice. But anyway, Jay's incredible. I wouldn't be doing these videos if it wasn't for Jay. He's gotten incredible with editing, but back when he started, you'd see his finger coming to and from the button like me. And I didn't think that was something you could do and have anybody watch. But apparently, the stories are good enough. It works itself out. So this was an interesting story. So I talked about GDF, the Grateful Dead family, and all that. Okay, so there are like these festivals, music shows that I would go to, and I supplied GDF, Grateful Dead family. Typically, the one guy, he'd have everything, ready beforehand. He'd have like probably about 200.3s, calling them halves. Okay, yeah. Calling them halves, selling them 30 apiece, killing it, and that's what he'd do. And they had other markets and stuff like that, but that was the biggest thing. It was it was about the business. I mean, you can make it down to what it is, call it what it is. And a lot of the cops in these places, they ignore it. It's wild. I couldn't believe it. I was never comfortable with it. Because as much as it seemed like it was cool, I mean, you got cops standing right there, and you got guys with blotter cutting off pieces and selling it while they're watching, just shaking their head. And unless violence gets involved, they don't step in. But I mean, you're committing a felony. Yeah, there's thousands and thousands, and sometimes tens of thousands of people, depending on which one and all that. But should they choose to take you off, you're gone. I mean, people have crazy stuff too. They bring those nitrous tanks, sell those balloons. There's some wild stuff. You see people doing that, selling it $5 a balloons. What my buddy sold them for. And if you gave him a 20, I don't have change. You're gonna have to take 4. He never had change. You watch him get all kinds of small bills. I don't have change. Whatever you had, he didn't have change for. And he'd empty that tank. But anyway, it's mostly, the idea is it's a bunch of hippie, it's a good environment and all that. In theory, that sounds wonderful. Okay? Oftentimes on this show, I keep it real with you. I mean, GDF, in theory, it's, we do this psychedelics, we don't get into any of that other stuff. Man, those boys that I knew were more addicted to heroin than, man, half of them had hepatitis. Half of them probably had new species of bugs crawling in their dreadlocks. Oh, Lord. And something just wasn't appeasing about women with belly shirts that had a happy trail. It was nasty to me. Like, I don't know. I'm like, certain things like bug me out. You know what I mean? Really dark happy trail. Like, take a razor that thing. You know what I mean? Lord have mercy. Lord. Anyhow. So at these things, there is violence. It's less common though, because everybody there has a mostly common goal of making money. I mean, just be straight up about it. That's what I did. That Sound Tribe and all that other stuff. If you like it, I'm happy for you. But you have to be on drugs to think that music sounds good. I'm sorry. It sounds like my TV is glitching out. I just, yeah. It sounds like my TV is glitching out, like it's having an issue. Like I'm going to need to call go get a new one, get it repaired. You know, anyway, it is what it is. So there's certain songs and certain stuff that I tripped on so many times. See, I wouldn't listen to Grateful Dead when I was tripping. I listened to System of a Down and put on a Clockwork Orange. I want to see the devil, like Joey Diaz says. You know, I didn't want to do, you know, this peaceful, you know, all this, you know, we'll just be calm and, you know, listen to the music. I was like, let's see how far we can take it. Oh, Lord, I took it far. Get shutter vision, which that isn't even trails. That's at such a level. That was usually after, you know, a couple 10 strips. That you don't even see movement. You see like clips of a camera. So you'll see somebody like, and then the next thing you'll see is, and you won't even see the movement in between. Yeah, what do you think that stuff's doing to you? Cooking you from the inside out, Lord have mercy. Now, in its purest form, it actually isn't as dangerous as other things, but so many people just about making that money, so they cut it with the bad stuff. But anyhow, it's all supposed to be good and this good idea and environment and I fed into it, and I got disillusioned with it with so many people and so many things that I saw. And you know, I was an outsider. I was an insider, but technically I was always an outsider. I mean, I didn't get it. I mean, for real. You know what I mean? I didn't get it. I know I went on a bit about this, but anyhow, there are creepy men. There are creepy hippies. There are predators of every which variant at these shows. See, at these shows, a lot of time it's a 2-3 day party. People get tense. People are intoxicated. Yeah, best believe that they've got stuff they're dropping in, drinks and everything else. Yeah. I mean, the stuff happens. People go there with evil intentions, I'm telling you. You know, there's some good people, and you know, I mean, there was one guy, he had a treehouse cult. That was something else. I'll tell that another day. But he had a bunch of tree houses. He had a cult where everybody lived in these tree houses. You know, I meet a lot of weird folks, a lot of cult people. But anyhow, you know, and you know, with certain psychedelics, there are studies that show that it is helpful for people with PTSD and a number of other issues. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to something legally in the way that could possibly help me with my PTSD dreams. I'm at the end of my line with this stuff. You know, of course, last night I stayed up. My buddy Weavy, you know, he needs somebody to talk to, and I hope if I need it, somebody talk to me. You know, if I need that. But anyhow, at these places, the predators just like anywhere else. So I'm getting to it right now. A lot of the time, when stuff like that happens, you hear about it after the fact. You don't hear about it in progress. This time was an exception. I'm a vengeful person. I did that video about my friend Josiah, who was a scrapper, who is a preacher now. You know, and I hope I can get like him one day. But you know, I'm a vengeful person, and I like to get back on people that do certain things. I know it's probably wrong. It's probably bad. It's what it is. Some people deserve get back. Some people deserve, and especially if you're messing with, you know, underage kid that's coming. You know, it shouldn't be at these 3-day parties without parents and stuff. Girls like 15 years old, but it happens. Okay, it happens. All right. So basically, you know, there was a commotion in a tent. There's a 15-year-old girl. And, you know, it's not like one of those after the facts. It's, you know, letting it be known you're not wanted. But this person wasn't hearing that. So anyway, like, people are just going to let that go. You see these hippies with dreadlocks and stuff, but I will give it to these hippies right here. These GDF mothers. They did stuff this day, and it's one of the meanest things I've ever done to a human. Oh, it's so much better than the typical stuff that you could imagine up. Oh my God, it was so creative. Anyway, the first person who got in the tent said, yeah, it was happening. Like, it was happening. It had been in progress. This was a Chomo attack on a minor. This guy is probably about 30 or so. You know, not dreadlock, but just like creepy, dirty guy. Could have been a drifter for all anybody knows. But this guy knew what he was doing was wrong. And, you know, they snatched him up and they got him, and I'm with them. And I'm like, get him. I've always had a thing for that. You know what I mean? I mean, what kind of man are you? You're going to do something to women and kids, or, you know, you're not wanted, you're going to go, you know, impose yourself. What is that? It's always been a thing. So anyway, get smacked up a little bit, you know. We end up getting these zip ties to tie his hands behind his back. And we're sitting there thinking about some stuff, about what we're going to do and everything else. And apparently, this 15-year-old, reason she's there is her brother is one of the main Molly slingers, okay? This was the wrong girl to mess with, okay? Her brother, it seems like a hippie fella, but you never seen all that peace and love turn to hell, fire, brimstone, and hatred. Oh man, all that, you know, Grateful Dead, we're going to listen to some stuff that don't even make sense. And, you know, I know a lot of people love the Grateful Dead, but I like metal. I mean, I like angry, hateful metal. That's what you know what I mean? It makes me feel alive. And, you know, I like some rap too. I listen to that Die Antwoord. I've discovered them recently. They're crazy as could be. They're gutter as a mother. I mean, shoot. ODB Wu-Tang, you know, of course. Yeah. But, anyway, beside the point. This guy, all his peace, all his hippie just left him. All his hippie just left him. And he's talking about, yeah, oh, we're going to do something special. This is going to be the worst night of, you're never going to be the same. And I'm like, man, what's he going to do? He going to cut his wee-wee off? You know, what's he going to do? Man, okay, they're out in the wood with these tents. And I'm sitting there, I'm getting involved in this because I want to see it happen. And, you know, he deserves to have it happen. So anyhow, this hippie mother who was all peace and love and talking about, like, weird stuff. It doesn't even make sense, like auras and all this other stuff, you know. I mean, if you're into that, that's neat. I don't get it. Whatever. So we go out in the woods, and they strip this guy down to his boxers, and they tie him to a tree. That ain't so bad. You know, what's next? That's it. And he walks up, and, you know, he mushes this guy's face, his lips are open, and he pours this little bottle in his mouth. He poured about 200-300 hits of acid down this dude's mouth. Oh my God, that is the meanest stuff you could do to somebody. I told that one time I had taken the 4. Okay, I had eaten the 4. And the guy brought back in the envelope with the 220s with a bunch of ones in the middle. Oh, it made my night awful. Awful. Worst night, and that was 4. And that wasn't even that bad of a situation. Now, and of course that Spunion came in with that girl, and he had that Viking helmet on with one horn up, one horn down, looking like a fool. And I'm like, well, you know, it took the answer to making everything so much better, he says. Oh man, I'm like, no, you idiot. Worse. It's a terrible night. Stupid. Anyway, so we have to take turns babysitting this guy, like making sure like no animals or anything come out and eat him, you know, and get some type of charge like that. You know, I'm not trying to get this guy eaten or anything. That could be a manslaughter, this or that. We're just trying to break his brain. We're trying to break his mind. Oh Lord, you know, I've heard from people. I can't imagine this, okay? In the right state of mind, the amount that he had wouldn't have been oh, it would have been bad anyway. My friend Tim, who ate the half a sheet, 50 hits, and threw his mom in the shower and slammed her in it because he thought that she was on fire and he was trying to extinguish her. You know, he was in a positive mindset, but he just flipped out, wigged out all the way. This was like more than 100. I mean, probably, it was a lot, okay? And he force fed it to this dude. And this dude stayed tied to that tree in his boxers all night. They had tied his mouth because he started making just like screaming. Just screaming. Oh, and they come back and he torment him every once in a while too, which I'm sure made it worse. For people who don't know, basically imagine the most intense feeling you've had times 10 million, and that's what this guy was going through. Imagine the worst thing you've gone through ever and multiply it by 1,000,000. That's what this guy was going through. And he deserved it. Shoot. And I heard basically, they let him, they got his clothes back on, everything else in the morning, and they released him, a couple blocks away from the area in which this took place, okay? So I had to drive him out off the field and everything else in the city, and then a couple blocks out, so then it's far enough to where it wasn't associated. I wasn't with that part. Ain't no way I was driving this fool out. Hell no. This guy, nah. What's wrong with him? Shoot, I don't know. Shoot, somebody gonna have some splaining to do. Nah. You wasn't gonna get by with having this sponge. This guy was damaged. They broke him. I mean, man, he was gone. I mean, this was, it's kind of like that bought the ticket, take the ride. Well, he was force fed the ticket, and he had to take that ride. I would say it probably was a month before he probably came out of that, and I'd say that there were lasting. He ain't never gonna be normal. He ain't never gonna be right again. He'll never be right. So anyway, this was one thing that Chomo got they deserved. Man, that's bad. I talked about that hot sauce. It didn't have a taste. It just pain. I thought that was bad. Putting that up that guy's nose. Man, this was some of the meanest stuff I've ever seen. And it was by a dirty, peace-preaching hippie. That was like, love flowers, like 20 minutes before. You gonna run up on my sister in a tent? He turned in. Man, angry hippie, he wasn't scary. He was kind of funny because, he wasn't physically imposing or threatening, but he had an army of little dirty people that grabbed a hold of this guy, tied his ass to a tree, and force-fed him that acid. Yeah, so this guy who wasn't even scary, I'm sitting there watching like, what are they going to do? And then I'm like, oh man, that's worse than any type of Crip blood gangster stuff they could have done. You could have cut somebody's toes off one at a time. It would have been less bad than this. Yeah. I just can't imagine it. Like, it's that bad. But shoot, dude deserved that. Can't be doing that. Wish they'd do it to all of them. Yeah. Anyway, if you liked the video, press the like button. If not, that is 19 minutes and 9 seconds of your life in which you'll never get back. Be on that live later with Weavy. I'm a little bit tired today. Instead of talking to him, my buddy needed it though. And guys see somebody on here that needs it, talk to them. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm gonna make it though. I'm insomniac, shoot. I get through it, waiting for my split personality to take over. Then I won't be tired anymore. Just kidding. Shoot, am I? Probably am. A little nutty. Nuttier than a squirrel turd. How am I kidding?